Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 76 of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Got a great show for you today. I'm really excited about it. Let's kick it off with our martial arts quote. Don't do a technique 5 times and wait for the instructor to tell you what's next. Do the technique 500 times and wait for the instructor to tell you to stop. Great quote, always reminding us to keep that focus where it needs to be, put out the effort, and that repetition is the mother of all skill. Okay, as I said, I'm really excited about the episode today. It's a special Meet the Listeners segment. And if you're a listener of the podcast, meaning if this isn't your first time tuning in, you're familiar with the Meet the Listener segment that we do from time to time where we showcase someone in the listening community and learn a little bit about them. So I thought it might be a fun thing to do is to call several listeners and have Ryron Gracie surprise them and be on the call. So that's exactly what we did. So we're going to hear from 8 listeners: Jason Henry, Eric Julio, Jason Rubin, Dan Thiel, Nelson Ruiz, Chrissy Vogel, Brian Terra, and Jesse Bennett. And all of these listeners knew that I was going to be calling them, but they had no idea that sometime in the conversation that Ryron would be jumping on the call. So as you can imagine, it was quite a surprise once they were on the phone and Ryron says hello. So I hope you enjoy hearing about this. As always, would love to hear your feedback and suggestions for the show. By the way, I recently got the episodes up on YouTube. It only took me 3.5 years and 76 episodes to do so. So if you've been a listener of the show and you've liked the episodes, do me a favor and jump on over to YouTube and view, like, and comment on some of your favorites. I would appreciate it. Okay, after the interviews, make sure you stay tuned to the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. And without further ado, let's check out the listeners now. Okay, kicking it off will be a call with Jason Henry. Okay, I'm speaking with Jason Henry, so welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you, Marty. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So let's just get started by you telling us where you're from and where you train, Jason.
Well, I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, but I moved down to Knoxville, Tennessee, probably about 13 years ago, and started training at Gracie Baja in Knoxville about 2.5 years ago.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Hey, Jason, I've got somebody that wants to say hello.
Oh, okay.
Jason, it's Tito and Gracie. How are you?
Oh, man, how are you doing? Professor, it's awesome.
I wanted to begin the conversation. I told Marty, meet some people and just see what's happening in the world of jiu-jitsu.
Oh, man, it's an honor. Took me by surprise.
Can I ask you? Very cool. Can I ask you a few questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like to always ask people, talking to Marty just about, in general, like what led you to jiu-jitsu?
Actually, it's kind of a long story, and I'll try to keep it short. But I've always been in and out of martial arts my whole life. Started when I was young. I was a kid in the 80s, so, Ninja Turtles, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris influenced me pretty hard. And got into Taekwondo and karate as a kid. And as a teenager, I kind of whistled away from it. We moved away from a gym, and, just kind of life took on. And I met my wife, and, we have 2 kids. And she started working with a guy who was working at a local judo club. And he was trying to get people in, and she told him I used to do martial arts. And he kept bugging her, hey, get your husband in. And she came up to me one day, and I was like, look, you just need to go just so this guy leaves me alone. And I was like, all right, we'll see what happens. So I go, and I couldn't even prepare myself that, like, when I walked back on the mat, I just got those feelings. It was just, I guess it was just doing something. Just, being a part of something and, being older, you're not playing football or basketball anymore, so it's like getting a sweat on. And after that first class, I signed up for 6 months.
Well, and that was a jiu-jitsu guy or judo? No,
this was a judo thing. So what happened was the judo club had a jiu-jitsu guy. His name was Professor Javier Arroyo. He's out of Nashville. Super great. I mean, that guy is a beautiful person. I can't say enough about that guy. He came in and did a seminar, and he did about a 2.5-hour seminar with us. And it was over basic stuff, a lot of, breaking if someone grabs your wrist, and, a lot of stand to combat, a lot of kind of lower-end self-defense stuff. And after class, he said, if anybody wants to roll, I'm open to roll. And I didn't quite understand or even respect, I guess would be the right word, what a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. And in the whole class, he used me as kind of like his, the assistant to show everything. So I put my hand up and I was like, Professor, I'd love to roll. And man, I thought I could do something, but that guy, I felt like I was drowning, and it was like everything and he was close to my size. He was a little heavier, but man, he felt like he was 400 pounds. And where I worked at, there was a jiu-jitsu school right across the street. And not even like 2 weeks after I got smashed, I walked into the jiu-jitsu school, and I was like, I need to know what this guy knows.
Wow. So some people, you got smashed and you fell in love.
I fell in love. It was like, I thought, because I did, I had a little bit of stand-up background. I did judo, and I thought I could at least, save myself. But it was like it was like going against a mutant or an alien.
Of course. It's great, though. Some people, if they got smashed, they would say, I don't want to get smashed every day. But you saw that the bigger picture is that you got smashed and you wanted to learn how to do the same to people and how to control people. That's amazing.
Well, and let me clarify too. When I say he smashed me, but it was very gentle too. Like you could tell the dude exactly knew what he was doing, and it was just something that even the black belts I went to, there was just a certain level of proficiency that I saw with him that I didn't see at other places. You know what I mean?
How long have you been training now?
About 2.5 years.
Great. And do you feel like jiu-jitsu has surprised you in any ways? Like where it's basically affected your
every aspect of my life. I go 5 days a week. I'm a very structured guy. So, I go Monday, Tuesday. I take either Wednesday or Thursday off. I alternate back and forth between the weeks because one class is no-gi, and I always at least try to get a couple no-gi classes in each month. When I'm not at the gym, using kettlebells. I've started doing hill sprints. I've started running. Everything I do now is geared towards being better at jiu-jitsu, and in turn, jiu-jitsu makes me a better person. I watch what I eat. My attitude is nowhere near what it was before. Everybody walks around with an ego, and you hear it over and over again in jiu-jitsu school, which how the ego just kind of, gets beat out of you, or either that you're just too tired to argue, But it's one of those things that, like, once I've started, now I can never imagine stopping.
Yeah, so you're preparing for life now. Jiu-jitsu
yes, sir.
You're seeing the huge picture. It's bigger than a self-defense situation. It's bigger than a street fight. It's preparing for life. And, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, who knows? So you're exercising, you're eating better mindset. It's amazing. It's exactly what, Edu Gracie and Carlos Gracie would have wanted from every jiu-jitsu practitioner. So I'm glad that your life is, improving and improving every day.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. I mean, I thank you guys for it. I mean, like, you guys are role models in the community.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just doing what I was taught, and now you're doing what, you were taught, and then we just keep spreading it. One day when we're both not here, there will be young kids, on the path the same way we are right now.
Exactly. I think someone said that martial arts is a vehicle for human development, and that's like so true. It makes you, you like you say, if you get into it, you see the bigger picture. It just really, you almost become like a passenger and just watch the ride go.
Absolutely,
I love it.
Hey, Jason, anybody you want to do a quick shout out to before we close? I wish we had a little more time, but we're gonna have to move on. But please, anyone that comes to mind you want to shout out to real quick.
Yeah, I'd love, first and foremost, it'd have to be Professor Javier Arroyo. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here, and I see him all the time at tournaments and stuff and remind him of it. My professor, Professor Samuel Braga, that guy helps me on and off the mats. Can't say enough about him. And then just all my teammates out there in Gracie, Baja. Love you guys. Y'all push me, and I push you. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to us today.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Jason.
All right. Be well, sir.
Good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Okay, up next is Eric Julio. Okay, I'm speaking with Eric Julio. So welcome to the show, Eric.
Thanks, Marty. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yes, my pleasure. Eric, let's just get started by you telling us where you're from and where you train.
I am from Chicago, Illinois originally. I live in West Dundee, and I currently train at Team Curran out in Crystal Lake, Illinois, under Jeff Curran.
Nice. Hey, Eric, I've got somebody that actually wants to say hello to you.
Oh, really?
Hey.
Oh, okay.
What's up, Eric? This is Hito and Gracie. How are you?
Oh, my goodness. Wow. This is wow, this is a surprise, a very pleasant surprise. How are you doing, sir? How are you?
I'm doing great. I just, I love the podcast. So I said, Marty, let's talk to some people and get to know some people. And here we are.
Wow, amazing. This is, wow.
Got more than you bargained for today, right?
Oh, that's for sure. If you could see the smile on my face right now, it's from ear to ear.
Excellent.
So, Eric, can I ask you a question real quick? I was thinking, talking to Marty, and just, my favorite question to ask is, what was that moment? What was that event that led you to jiu-jitsu?
Well, that's a funny story. What led me to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was that I had been studying martial arts on and off most of my life, and of course the UFC #1, watching Master Royce fight, that just completely changed everything for me. When me and my friends, we were very excited to watch this fight, and when I first saw it, I was like, this can't be real. This has got to be like WWE. This has got to be wrestling. So I actually had moved from Chicago out to St. Charles, Illinois, and originally, before the certified training center, the academy had this Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Training Association, and there happened to be a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Training Association out in St. Charles, Illinois, under Tom Lanois. And so one day, I walked into his school, into the training center, and I saw all these guys rolling around, and it was kind of like UFC, sort of, and I was like, what is going on here? And so Tom, who is an amazing person, he invited me in, and I said, what do I do? And he's like, just do what you think you have to do. And I'm like, all right, I've done martial arts, no problem. I'm just going to, take him down. Oh, my God. I was like a fish out of water. I had no idea what was going on. I got put in the guard, and that was it. It was literally a life-changing moment for me. I mean, it was just, and from that day on, it was over with. And that was back in late 1996, 1997. And in 1998, I ended up going out to the academy, the older academy, not the one that's there now. And I went out there, got my blue belt from Grandmaster Orion. And unfortunately, due to my job, I ended up taking a hiatus for about 12 years. And now I'm actually just getting back into training, starting with last year. I'm sorry to go on, but it's kind of a funny story. I had a few surgeries on my back, and I visited in Springfield, Illinois. I visited John Gayson's Martial Arts Academy, and Pedro Valente was doing his 5 Elements seminar, and that kind of kickstarted everything for me. And after doing that, I was like, back into it. I went out to Team Curran, and then Master Hiron, as you know, I went to the academy last year, and ever since then, I've just, it's in my life now, and I don't ever want to quit again. It's, yeah.
Wow.
So,
I love it, and that's so cool. So this 12-year break, that's the most amazing thing, is to stop for 12 years, and I'm sure you thought about it quite often, right? You weren't.
Oh, yeah.
It's always on your mind. Am I right?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. I mean, I had all the videos and everything watching, and it's always, it's always been a part of my life, in my mind, constantly thinking about it. But my job, which was an on-call job, took me away from it. I just couldn't dedicate my life to it, and so I ended up quitting. And then, of course, the training association disbanded or whatever happened. And fast forward here, I think I'm like the longest running blue belt that's existing right now. It's kind of funny. So it's not a title that I'm proud of.
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
It matters that you're on the mat.
That's right.
Yes, sir. It does. Yes, sir.
So, and how has jiu-jitsu just surprised you? Whether it was, when you came back, like, for example, is it giving you more than you ever imagined? How you feeling about jiu-jitsu and how it's affected your life right now?
Currently, right now, I have jiu-jitsu actually has saved my life. I had these surgeries, and I was pretty down on myself, and just feeling like I had 3 spinal surgeries, and I pretty much had lost everything. I used to be, even though I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu, I was at the gym working out, lifting weights, blah blah blah. I used to be a gym rat, so that took that away from me. And getting back into Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, I immersed myself, and it really helped to build my self-esteem. And once I stepped onto the mat again, there's a huge difference from the way that was we used to train back then, and for me in the late 90s, and to now. There's just a lot of different aspects of stuff. And I got to say that I think that the blue belts today seem to have a little more, I don't know, knowledge, but it's just a different feeling. But it's still amazing, and it's with me every day, and I'm never going to give it up again, no matter what. I'm always going to train.
Awesome.
Wow. I'm very happy to hear that it's done wonders for you, and you're in very good hands with, Team Curran. So
absolutely.
Lucky you. Stay the path.
Eric,
yes.
Anyone you want to do a quick shout out to before we got to bring it to a close?
I guess I want to give a shout out to Team Curran. I'm so grateful to be able to train there, and to anyone else that's doing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, I just want to say, don't ever quit, no matter what, no matter how bad. Just don't quit, because you're going to end up like me. You're going to be like a time traveler coming back and being like, "Well, what's going on here?" Thank you very much for having me on the show, and such a pleasant, amazing surprise to be talking to you, Master Hero tonight. It's amazing.
Thank you, Eric. And don't see it as you quitting. You know, you took a break.
Exactly.
And people out there might take long breaks. You might take a 3-7 year break. No problem. Take a little break. We'll see you in 7 years. So if you see that as quitting, then you might feel like you can't come back. But if you see it as a break, like you said, a hiatus, you come right back, no problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right on.
Well, good talking to you. Pleasure to meet you again. We met at the Academy when you came by?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Good to talk to you again, and hopefully we'll cross paths again soon.
I hope so. I look forward to it.
Oh, Eric, thanks for letting us get to know you a little better today, man. I appreciate you talking to us.
Oh, thank you very much. This was something I'm not going to forget. There's a huge smile on my face.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Be well.
All right. Thanks, Marty. You as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Next up, we have Jason Rubin. All right, I'm speaking with Jason Rubin. So welcome to the show, Jason.
Thanks, Marty. Long-time listener. Glad to be on.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. So let's just get started by you letting us know where you're from, where you train, and how long you've been training.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Maryland, and I guess about 20 years ago or so, like most people, I got involved in traditional martial arts, taekwondo, that kind of thing, and took a little break for a while, and then got into back into martial arts, following on the ninja boom, some of those sorts of things, and then kind of like most people's path in those arts, kind of wanted something with a bit more realism and practicality for self-defense. So about 10 years ago, started training in Muay Thai under Ajahn Scott Anderson in Maryland, Maryland Thai boxing, and I've been doing that for the last 10 years. And then as I've gotten toward the end of my 30s and much closer to 40, I wanted to add in some jiu-jitsu training. So that was about 2.5 years ago or so. I started training at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Maryland, at Helson Gracie School, and added that back in, and kind of have shifted the balance more toward grappling than striking, for self-defense and in competition and things like that.
Right on. Awesome. Hey, Jason, I've got somebody that wants to talk to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, Jason. Jason, it's Hidon Gracie. How are you?
Hey, Hidon Gracie. Wow. I'm great. How are you?
Doing great, man. I like your story. Lifelong martial artist. Great to hear.
Yeah.
And I love even more how you ended with jiu-jitsu, and now you're there for the rest of your life, right?
Oh, I'm hooked, man. I caught the bug. Watching you and Henner, with the combatives, that's really what sold me on it. And I'm kind of embarrassed because, I'd always kind of, dabbled a little bit with grappling, and what I was exposed to was a very sportive side. And then when I saw, the kind of principles that you guys try to sustain, in terms of distance management, punch protection, all that, I was like, why did I not really look into this earlier? So yeah, man, I'm a believer.
Yes, great. And can I ask you a couple questions I like to ask? Is you already kind of mentioned that, what drew you towards jiu-jitsu was maybe the age a little bit, and you wanted the ground and just practicality. And how, now that you've been doing jiu-jitsu, it's been 2 years, you said?
Yeah, 2.5 years. We've got right now. Yeah.
So how has jiu-jitsu surprised you in those 2.5 years? Like, I'm sure you came in expecting one thing, and what have you taken into your life? How has it affected your life?
Yeah, so I guess, being, in the Muay Thai and the striking arts, I really just expected to just kind of be a casual dabbler in the art. And so, I got some of the combatives materials and And I grabbed the wife and I was like, hey, let's do this. It's sort of a supplement to what we're doing. But I just fell in love with it, and then I joined an academy because I think you've mentioned in the past, it takes a very special type of person to kind of do that on their own. And I don't know if I'm that person, so I need an academy. So I joined that, and I think I just slowly fell in love as, everything is so scientifically based. And what's interesting about it is as you get a handle on the foundational principles, the art becomes very individualized, and you can sort of make it what you want. And I just thought, wow, how cool is that? An art that's, based on science, is effective, but also has a lot of room for personal customization.
Yes, that's really cool. It's very true also. We're all very different, myself and all my brothers, and all my jiu-jitsu brothers and sisters. Everybody has their own flavor. So you train with Mike?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I got linked up with Mike. We actually have a very similar martial arts background with traditional martial arts. We really connected on that.
Great. Yes, he's in it for life. So you're in good hands. It's very cool. So I'm glad. And is your wife training also?
So she mainly trains Muay Thai. So we've got an 18-month-old daughter, and so we're striking the balance between, hey, you can go train and do your thing on this day, and I'll cover down, and then I'll go on that day. So kind of the balance of martial arts, but also the balance of marriage too.
That's very important. You have to be able to defend yourself in a street fight, but just as important to know how to defend your relationships and keep your marriage together. Because I almost rather get beat up in a street fight than get divorced. So
yeah, really.
Keep the balance.
No one can tap me out emotionally faster than my own wife, so I got to be careful.
That's
very cool. Well, I'm glad. So she's a martial artist also. That's very cool. Family of martial artists. And congratulations on the 18-month-old. Exciting time.
Oh, thank you.
Very cool.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Great talking to you.
Yeah, well, what an honor. Thanks very much. And I just love the material you guys put out and the passion that you bring. I mean, your passion and Henner's passion is really what got me into this art. I'm thankful to be a part of it. So thank you for that.
Very cool. Thank you. And hopefully we can cross paths on the mat soon one day.
Yeah, I would love that for sure.
Hey, Jason, anybody you want to do a quick shout out to before we bring it to a close?
Of course, Mike Stewart, I'm very pleased to be a part of his school. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Maryland. He's got a location in Columbia, and also Finksburg, Maryland. I think he's looking at some other places. And I got to give a shout out to Maryland Thai Boxing in Columbia too, under Scott Anderson. If you're looking for, any striking arts, Filipino Kali, check those guys out. Great people, great martial artists.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking time to talk to us today, man.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Be well, my friend.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay, up next is Dan Thiel. Okay, I'm speaking with Dan Thiel. So, Dan, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, Marty. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I listen to all the podcasts. They're very interesting.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being a listener for sure. Just get us started, Dan, by just letting us know where you're from, where you train, and how long you've been training.
I'm originally from the Chicagoland area. I'm down in St. Louis now, St. Louis proper in the city. I've been training in the martial arts since '79. I got, obviously, when I seen Hoist in the first UFC, I fought some kickboxing, full contact. I've been in this, martial arts forever. So when I seen the UFC and all that was actually the guy that was my corner man in one of the fights I had in the Chicagoland area at the Degenberg Academy was Frank Trejo, and he was in one of the coaches' corner guys in the first UFC with the Ed Parker, the guy that had the Ed Parker patch.
Interesting.
Was one of his fighters.
Awesome.
I got to train with Frank out in Pasadena, California, and all that.
Excellent.
And then I met I was teaching real quick. I was teaching out of a studio in Naperville, Illinois, in 03. Didn't know that Carlson Sr. was teaching there, and he walks in, and I was like, holy cow, because I seen him in all the UFCs, and I go, I got to train with this guy, you know, I got to do that. So that's how I got introduced to the Gracie system and the grappling and stuff.
Nice. Well, speaking of the Gracie system, Dan, I've got someone who wants to say hello.
Hi, Dan. This is Hito Gracie. How are you?
You're on. You're awesome, dude. I love you, man. I love your whole attitude about the system and everything else.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much. Good talking.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Hey, I appreciate it, and I'm glad you're on the jiu-jitsu path and you're on the team and you're training this stuff. It's great. What's the school you're training at right now?
I just have the Gracie garage.
Perfect. You have your own garage. It's the best school in the world. It's always open.
Yeah,
exactly.
Really. It's always there for you. That's great. So, Dan, you said you saw Carlson Sr. and you thought to yourself, you know, I got to get started and go with this guy and learn from him. So did you learn from him a fair amount?
I did. But the thing was, and it was funny because I emailed your father at the time in 03, and it's so funny having you on the phone, man. I'm kind of blown away right now. But, yeah, so I was working with them guys, but it was kind of brutal, to be honest with you. I lost my ACL. I almost lost my 2 front teeth. And, I mean, I love Carlson, the most humble guy, but there was the only thing for me that was lacking was the like a flow to it, you know, where I'd come in and learn something and it'd flow, and I'd learn that technique would blend into that technique and so forth. That's how I process things, you might want to say. So I emailed your father at the time, and I'm like, you know, Professor Ori, and he emailed me back, invited me out to Torrance, and I didn't have enough money or time at the time. I was going through a lot of stuff, and I never made it out there. But that's why it's kind of, I'm stoked right now to be talking to you. That's awesome.
Very cool. And did you stop training for a while?
Yeah, I did once. I had some personal stuff go on, and then when I lost the ACL, I got out of it for a little while. But I always was interested in it, and you know, I went and checked out some sports jiu-jitsus in the area, and I actually talked to Henzo Gracie, Professor Henzo. He was on XM93, and I called in him, and I was hoping he could help me find a studio where it wasn't so sport, you know, in the St. Louis area, and that's been a rough go too. So I was traveling, going up to the Jacksonville Academy and the CTC up there, and taking privates with Jason Harris, which is a purple belt, and doing the Gracie combatives and all that. So yeah.
Got it. So you basically, as time went by, you just kept searching, and you found that place in Jacksonville.
Right, I found that one.
How far is that? Go ahead.
It's about I'd say a good hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. Because I actually called your the academy where you're at, and I was going to try to get something going in St. Louis, but I'm so green at this stuff, and there's a lot of good sport guys out here, and I just didn't want to take on that responsibility, and that's why I got the Gracie garage though, and you know, still looking for guys to train. Haven't really got too much out of that though, but yeah, you know,
yeah, people eventually they're going to show up little by little, and that's for you. So you mentioned one day might possibly wanting to teach.
Yeah, I actually would. You know, I was going to try to teach the Kempo because I've been in that forever, and then, but I really love what you guys are doing, how it's all, you know, systematically, and you guys, there's no holding back either. You guys to me, it's not like you guys are holding any secrets back. You're teaching the angles. This is what you look for. This is how this blends. I mean, you make it very, useful. And I like the way you go to some of these academies. I was going, that's not the real, I mean, I love all the jiu-jitsu and I respect all of it. But being the background I have in the kickboxing and all that, the Thai boxing and some of these guys, they're new and they're not protecting their heads from punches, and you guys cover that in the very basics. You know what I mean? In the very beginning, and man, I wish you had a CTC in St. Louis.
Hey,
I'd be there.
We might have one day. And remember, when you consider, if you ever open a CTC, you would open a CTC to offer an experience that you were unable to find, that you needed. So whether that's in a year or 3 years, when the time comes, as long as you create the environment that you wish you had 2 years ago or 6 years ago, 12 years ago, it'll be a huge success, because you're not the only person out there that's looking for structure and safe and flow and practical. So it might seem like there's all kinds of guys in your area that are teaching jiu-jitsu, but in many ways it's a different jiu-jitsu.
It is. You're right. Totally right.
True.
People are going to walk in their schools and they're going to do what you did. You're going to say, this is not really what I'm looking for. It's almost there, but it's not it. And when they walk into your schools, some will find a home. And some will walk into your school and say, this doesn't make any sense. And then they'll walk into the other schools. But it's just nice to offer everything. So whenever you're ready, we're here for you. Don't be in a hurry. Make sure you feel right and know that, there's always somebody who wants to learn from a school that offers the things that we talked about, the structure, the safety, the flow, and, all that good stuff.
I got you. I was going to come out and visit you guys maybe towards the end of the summer. I always wanted to get out to Torrance and just see the academy and get out there and just meet you guys, man, because, you guys are...
You definitely got to do that, Dan. There's no place like it, man. You definitely got to make that trek.
Yeah.
Whenever you come, let me know, and we'll have an acai bowl together.
Nice.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Hey, Dan, anybody you want to take a moment to do a shout-out to before we close?
Just all the guys that have in the jiu-jitsu world that I've trained with. I appreciate their help. I've met Holes Jr., Baja Gracie out here. I've been kind of bopping around a little bit just to get a feel of what's going on. And Mike Buckles out in O'Fallon, Missouri. He's Baja Gracie, good people. And, Jason Harris, my wife, Julie.
Awesome.
Threw that in there.
And you're a truck driver, right?
I am.
Yeah, you're driving right now?
Yeah, XPO Logistics.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your day, man, as you're driving along to talk with us. And I appreciate it, and I hope you continue to be well, brother.
You too, and thanks for having me, Marty. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Professor, I appreciate talking to you too. I hope we see you guys soon.
Thank you, Dan. All the best.
All right, brother. You take care. You too, Marty.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Moving along, let's talk with Nelson Ruiz. Okay, I'm speaking with Nelson Ruiz. So welcome to the show, Nelson.
Thanks, Marty. It's a pleasure to be here and pleasure to speak to you.
Well, pleasure's mine. Pleasure's mine. Thanks for being a listener, my friend. So let's get going by, if you would, just start off by telling us where you're from, Nelson, where you train, and how long you've been training.
I am from Southern California. I live in the Simi Valley area, and I kind of train at two locations, which is Beverly Hills Academy and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Granada Hills, where I am an instructor.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got someone that you may know who wants to say hello, Nelson.
Nelson.
Tito?
Nelson. Bro,
what's up, my friend?
You're not coming on my days.
I know. I've been trying to get out there. It's just, my wife has been traveling, and, Wednesdays my kids do basketball practice. But I'm trying to make it out there this Wednesday.
Yo, I'm just glad you're training. But more importantly, I'm glad that you're teaching.
You don't know how happy I am to be back teaching.
Yeah, I'm glad you're teaching so much. That's very cool that you're helping teach a lot, and it's great news. So Nelson,
Yes.
Let's talk about jiu-jitsu and your life and how it's affected your life.
Oh man, it's affected my life so much that I could probably write a book about it. But I think one of the main things that it's helped me do is get rid of my anxiety, because for like 32 years, I've had severe anxiety where I didn't want to leave the house or travel anywhere. And it kind of put, the family in a bad spot. But that's like one of the major changes that I've noticed by training jiu-jitsu.
That's so cool. I didn't even know that about you.
Yeah. And it's,
I didn't know that Nelson,
you're like
that's right.
But, you personally, you don't have had a big impact in getting me to overcome that anxiety. So, I'm like indebted to you for a lifetime that I know you.
Oh, that's so great. I'm very happy that Jiu-Jitsu and the Gracie family, Gracie Academy, was able to do that for you. It's so great. And I myself, I want to discuss this even more now. I didn't know this about you. It's great. And there are people all around the world that have, maybe a similar situation where they have a lot of anxiety. And little do they know that Jiu-Jitsu, might be the medicine that they need.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing. It was either that or getting on medication, and I know the effects that medication has, but, I'm so happy that I found, Henry Gracie's video, which kind of steered me into Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Which video did you see first?
The very first video was a video that Henner did on strengthening his back, where he's at the academy using this big medicine or yoga ball, and he's doing these back exercises, and that fire alarm goes off halfway in between. That's the video that kind of opened my eyes to your family and the academy.
That's so great. Well, very cool. And Nelson, do you and your children, they're growing up with a father that is not, I guess, ruled by anxiety, that's not controlled by anxiety and limited by the anxiety situation. So I think that's the biggest gift, right, is that your kids are not going to be held back because you are holding yourself back. The fact that now you can go to here and travel around the world, and you can take trips and take vacations, it's really changed their lives. And when did you start training? What year?
I'm going to say 2013 is when I started training in the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy system, basically the system that you and Henner put out, that your family put out.
That's great. So for 2013, that's 3-4 years. And it's so good. So your children, it's like a crucial time for them. Imagine if you... Oh my goodness, that makes me happy. That these kids are going to grow up, and they're going to be just, they're going to take over the world. And they're also training jiu-jitsu, correct? They're training on a regular basis?
Yeah, they just finished their stint with karate, but they're going to be training jiu-jitsu, and my wife's going to get into it. I'm trying to get her, her pink belt so she can go to the Women Empowered certification course. So I got the whole family training in it. They see how nice it is and how it really changes them. I mean, my wife has even said that it's changed her, how she looks at things.
Wow.
So the whole family now is into the system.
It's beautiful, man.
It's really cool.
Very cool.
Well, Nelson, thank you for sharing, and, only good things, hopefully only
Always.
good things come to, and I wish you the best, and hope to see you on the mat soon. And hope we cross paths.
Yes,
I haven't seen you for what, 5 months? I don't know.
Something like that. I mean, it's been too long. I think the last time I saw you was when we went to have breakfast.
We live too close to each other not to connect once a month.
I agree. We got to make it happen. I got to make it happen.
Right
Well,
on.
brother, thank you so much, Nelson.
Thank you, man. It was like,
Hey,
you just
Nelson.
made my day.
Hey, Nelson, I want to thank you, too, for sharing that, man. It goes a long way. Not only does it impact your kids and the rest of their life, but people who are listening, and they know that it helps them know that, if they're struggling with something like that, they're not the only one. And the power of jiu-jitsu can really go a long way with it. So, awesome, man. Anybody you want to do a quick shout-out to, brother?
Hiro and Henner, Joe Piacentini, who opened up the school and opened up his garage to me to come and train. All my training partners and the students over at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Granada Hills.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for taking time to talk to us, man, and be well, my friend.
No more. And can I add one more thing?
Certainly.
Sure. The thing that I live by, that I think it was Hiron that said it, was learn to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations so that they cease to exist. And that is something that's very powerful that I live by. I just wanted to share that with you.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. It is very powerful.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Be well and long, happy life.
You too. We'll meet soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Chrissy Vogel. So I'm speaking with Christine Vogel. So, Christine, welcome to the show.
Hi, Marty. Thank you for having me.
Well, my pleasure. My pleasure. Christine, if you would just start us off by telling us where you train, how long you've been training, and where you're from.
So I initially started training at Balance Studios. My husband was a student and teacher there, and he introduced me to the art several years ago. He got his black belt around, I want to say 2012, 2012. It was towards the end of the end of the year, and I realized at that moment when he got his black belt that I had been kind of just watching, and I say this in a way that I hope doesn't sound too, I guess, ridiculous, but he's kind of like, he was my muse, so to speak. He got me back into photography by virtue of practicing jiu-jitsu. So I was mostly just photographing him, and I made the connection, from a more visual standpoint. I didn't really know very much about the art. So I've been training now, I want to say about 5 years, and I just recently got my first stripe on my purple belt.
Wow.
So that's where we're at right now.
That is really cool how you got into it for
yeah.
So you're
yes.
That's all right. Your husband's Drew, right?
Yes, that's right.
And Phil Migliore's lineage?
That's right. We ended up moving out to Washington State from Philadelphia, where we were both originally training. And as you know, Balance Studios is sort of like a certified teaching center. So it was one of the earlier schools on the East Coast to have the thumbs up from, the Gracie family. And our affiliation with Helson had really given me a tremendous opportunity to learn from, one of the sources. So I was just in a very fortuitous position, having never been a practitioner of martial arts.
Yeah.
I really was, a white belt in more ways than one. My exposure to martial arts was mostly through films and, from my younger, just like the younger generation of people that grew up being exposed to it and then showing it to me. So, I really just had no idea what I was in for.
Very nice, very nice. Hey, Christine, I have someone who wants to say hello to you.
Okay.
What's up, Christine? Christine, it's Hito and Gracie. How are you?
Hi, Hito. How are you?
Great.
This is a nice surprise.
How's the move
It's
been?
great. We just established our academy here. We're sharing a studio with an Aikido practitioner, and she was gracious enough to offer us a space here. And now we're doing framework BJJ. So that is my husband's brainchild coming into its own right now. Yeah, so it's new. We're still cultivating it from the ground up.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures on Instagram of the framework page. So that's really great. And are you taking these pictures, right? Christine's behind this camera?
That's right. I'm always behind the camera when I... Thank you.
No, I remember. You got some pictures of me So, Christine,
Yes.
how do you feel? Did you guys move for jiu-jitsu? Did you move just for life? Like, I forgot why.
A little
you
bit of
changed
everything. Yeah, we,
Got
you know, Philadelphia is kind of, in a way, I grew up in New York, and I ended up reconnecting with Drew. He was one of the first people that I met when I moved from New York to New Jersey. So we've been friends for a very long time. I want to say like 19 years we've known each other. And, you know, we had different callings. He went to school, moved to a new city. I moved to a new place. And we ended up kind of getting back together just fortuitously we went to a museum. And I realized I had been working in the museum world as an anthropologist. So I wasn't doing anything related to martial arts or remotely even thinking about moving to Philadelphia. We were there in Philly. Drew acquired his black belt. We had lived in California for a little bit, and the thought of moving back to the West Coast was still in our mind. We were like, we're not sure if California was quite it for us, but we really liked the idea and the notion of revisiting, and we ended up coming back to Washington for a vacation. And we immediately fell in love with the city, and Drew just felt like it was the right time to just start something. And, you know, not unlike the early precursors of the academies, you had your Gracie garage. And that was our idea. We were just going to pack our bags, move across the country, and share, you know, the jiu-jitsu that we had been exposed to. And Drew, in particular, he was raised on jiu-jitsu since he was 19, so to speak. So, you know, for him, this was a personal endeavor to share and inspire other people by the art that inspired him. So I can take, you know, only a measure of credit by saying that we were both amenable to the idea. We were like, let's pack our bags, let's go, and let's bring, you know, an outpost to the Pacific Northwest. Because when we first came, we didn't really see a lot of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu here. So we thought, there's a great opportunity. Why not?
Yes.
And that's what started the ball rolling and got us here today.
Yeah.
So definitely a change of
That's
life
so
direction.
great.
Thank you.
And I think that I feel like even if there are jiu-jitsu schools, there's just so many people that schools can't take on more than 1,000 students, 500 students.
Sure.
So I remember Shanji Hibero one time said, we're both in Los Angeles. We only each need, 300 students.
Yes.
And we have about 15 million to choose from, or whatever the number was. So it's really, it's very true, And one thing I was thinking also is that it's so great how you guys can move anywhere in the world. And I feel like you're similar to myself and my wife and my family. Like, just my wife, Victoria, and my 2 kids, if we pick up and leave and we move to somewhere in Arizona or somewhere in Kansas or Alaska or Jamaica, wherever we land, because of jiu-jitsu, we're going to be okay. And I feel like you guys, part of the confidence in being able to just go in the garage and just make the change is that jiu-jitsu. So that's so great to hear and see.
Thank you. We try to kind of push outside of our comfort zone, and it's always a risk whenever you uproot from the familiar, but I think also you have to take all those experiences and say, you know what, after all that I've acquired, working in anthropology for me, I loved working with communities and being in service to other people, and I really didn't feel that that was what I was accomplishing when I was working professionally. I was looking for work here and there, and not unlike jiu-jitsu, you always find people in your field who make you feel at home, but I just didn't feel at home with what I was doing. It didn't maybe challenge me in the way that I was looking for, that I thought. We have a notion of what is our passion and what keeps us motivated, and they don't always overlap with each other. And I ended up, like I said, photographing Drew, and he's like my muse, I like to say. He was a great subject for me, and that really drew me in, and all the experiences on the mat made me realize that there's a whole other community that I had not known about and that I would have otherwise never known about had I not gotten back, to myself. Because really reconnecting with Drew was a little bit like reconnecting with a part of my past that I really had great, connection to. You're still curious at that age when you're like 12 and 13, and you have these grand ideas about what you love and what moves you. And you're reactive. You're just taking in the environment, and you're going ooh and ah at all the things around you. And I realized that was what was happening. Jiu-jitsu was re-illuminating my brain again. Made me realize that there was things that I hadn't experienced and that I wanted to explore.
That's so great. And yeah, I mean, Drew, I just was with him a little while ago, and I very much enjoy his company. So you guys, I hope to spend more time with you in the future, because both you guys' energy and just, you know, it's that jiu-jitsu energy that I appreciate. So
you will always be welcome. You will always be welcome here. Our studio is, I'd like to think, an extension of, hopefully an extension in some shape or form of what we were taught and what you want to do as well, which is to share what your knowledge and experience has given you. So please feel free to stop by in Seattle when you're visiting your cousins, Kawan and Kevin Yakima, because we're just a few hours away in the city of Seattle at Framework BJJ. So please feel free to stop in.
I look forward to visiting.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Well, Christine, thanks for for taking time to let us get to know you a little more. And shout out to Drew. I'll definitely have to have him on the show at one point as well.
Thank you. That would be great. He's the fire starter. So.
All right. I had Phil.
Thank you so much,
Phil
Marty.
McLaurice, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, and be well, and long, happy life, Christine.
Yes, and likewise. Enjoy. Happy training.
Hey, Christine, anybody you want to do a quick shout out to?
I just want to reach out to the people on my team at Balance Studios in Philadelphia who have been incredibly supportive, and to my friend Mark, who is a photographer. He has been, very inspirational to me, just kind of motivating me to stay on this track and stay focused on my work as a photographer, because it wasn't necessarily what I had envisioned. And more to the point, I want to wish my husband a happy belated anniversary. We were on the mats that day, and that's all right, because it's our life, and we're happy to be training and sharing that with people. But I wanted to do a little special shout out to him, because without him, I don't know where I would be at this particular moment, but I'm very happy to be in this journey and on this path with him, and he means the world to me. So I just want to say I love you, Drew.
Awesome.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Christine.
Take care. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.
Next up is Brian Terra, and I've got to say a quick comment about Brian. Brian originally contacted me via email probably a couple of years back when I was looking for people to be featured on the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and the older practitioner episodes. By the way, if you haven't heard those, go back and check them out for sure. And what he wrote was, I'm a 43-year-old white belt who just entered my first submission-only competition last month, and I'm competing again next month. Am I old enough? I even have a bad back, gray hair, and a bald spot! ! So it really made me laugh. And while I didn't consider 43 old enough for the episodes I was doing, we were going for much older than that. It definitely made an impression on me. So glad he's a listener, as well as everybody else on the show currently. So let's meet Brian. All right, I'm speaking with Brian Terra, and welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Brian, if you would just get us started by letting us know where you're from, how long you've been training, and where you currently train.
Okay. I live in Calumet, Michigan, which is in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. I started training in 2010 while I was living in Dillingham, Alaska, which is a small village in the bush. You have to fly there or take a boat. And I started training with some Alaska State Troopers doing Gracie Combative. And I currently train at Keweenaw Jiu-Jitsu right here in Houghton, Michigan.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Hey, Brian, I've got someone who wants to talk to you.
Sure.
Hey, Brian, it's Hito and Gracie. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Great. Where did you say you were training right now?
Train in Keweenaw Jiu-Jitsu, which is in Houghton, Michigan.
Great. Yeah, just, wanted to meet some listeners, and, Marty had this idea, and it's a great idea, so hopefully get to know you a little bit. How, do you remember the moment? Do you remember what exactly guided you to jiu-jitsu? What made you make that first move?
Yeah, absolutely. I was at a Bible study in a little Moravian church in Bush, Alaska, and another gentleman that I didn't know also came there, and he was an Alaska State Trooper, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, I'm asking you this, but would you like to come train jiu-jitsu with us? We train at the local high school here. We're doing a program called Gracie Combatives." And I said, "Sure, I'll try it out." And the rest is history. I got involved then in 2010, and I've been pretty avid ever since.
That's great. And where was this in Alaska?
Dillingham, Alaska. It's in the bush. It's in Bristol Bay, an area. It's a Yupik Eskimo village near where the Aleutian Island chain breaks off.
I went there. I went
really?
to Sitka. Is it near Sitka?
Okay. Across the water. It's about an hour flight from Anchorage. Yeah, it's about an hour flight from Anchorage. So I think Sitka is just a little bit further south.
Yeah, so we actually went there and trained with some troopers, Henner and I, years ago. And we did the Alaska State Trooper TV show. They did a little segment of us teaching jiu-jitsu. Maybe one of those troopers went off and was stationed somewhere and then met you. Small world.
Yeah, it's very likely. It's very likely. It is a small world.
Yeah.
And when I got started up there, a lot of the kids were wrestlers up there. It's a cold place, and so they do indoor sports. Basketball and wrestling are huge. And so once the trooper I was training with moved, I then started getting these wrestlers into the youth center we were running at the time. And once they learned to stop giving me their back, they all got enamored with jiu-jitsu. And so there's a lot of kids up there in that village who still practice jiu-jitsu.
That's really nice. And now you're back. You're not in Alaska anymore.
No, I'm back in Michigan. I moved here. I think I'm back for about 3 years now.
Got it. And so how so you have a good amount of jiu-jitsu experience. You've been training for a while. And what do you feel? How has jiu-jitsu surprised you?
It surprised me in how it teaches me to think through problems, and it's something I've also been able to help with my kids. Especially I have a son who's very timid and gets emotional easy, and I just watched him bloom practicing jiu-jitsu and getting put in tough spots and having to not panic and work his way out. And my whole family trains. I have 5 kids, and we do a jiu-jitsu class at our church at 6 o'clock every Sunday.
Wow, how nice. It's very good. So it's helping you. It's helping you with parenting.
Yeah, definitely.
It's one of the greatest benefits for myself also. My parenting and how I am in all my relationships. I feel jiu-jitsu is, useful.
When I moved back to Michigan,
very cool. Great to hear.
It was good for me to find a Chet Skemmelhorn purple belt also lived in the same town as me. So he's the guy that I trained with until recently when he moved to Ohio.
Nice.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, see, there you go. Another sign of how small this world is. Connecting with Chet Skemmelhorn's team. That's very cool. Well, great. And have we met you and I personally? No, right?
Nope. I always threaten to come there and take my my certified blue belt test. But back when I started, you could still send in the videos and get an official blue belt. But now I understand there's the combatives belt and things like that.
Hey, Brian.
Well, hopefully one day I will meet you.
For sure. Brian, do you have a question that you'd like to ask Hedron?
Well, not as much of a question, because I know you. You don't know me, but I know you because I've studied the DVDs and online so long that it's kind of funny. My whole family, we feel like we know you guys. And one of the things that really stood out to me is you guys taught me how to learn jiu-jitsu through the way you teach. A lot of people, even locally here, they kind of look down on training or online training and things like that. But I still think that you guys are some of the best teachers that I've ever witnessed. And how thorough you are taught me how to grasp for details and grasp for how to make things work. So now when I see a technique somewhere, I've learned to dig for the details that make the technique work. And I just wanted to thank you for that because it's been a big part of my ability to learn without, black belt level teaching in my hometown.
That's so great. Thank you for sharing that. And it's exactly why we teach. So we're going to keep going. Thank you for the feedback.
Brian, anybody you want to do a shout-out to before we close?
Well, I'd just like to shout out to Sean Kern, Mark Kern, Chet Skemahorn, and all the crew here at Keweenaw Jiu-Jitsu, Stan Kowski, Alec Kowski, and just the whole crew at our gym, Wesley Walters. These are the guys that we grind out with day to day. You know, the funny part is I trained with these huge Alaska State Troopers in Alaska, and now that I'm in Michigan, I'm the big guy, so they have to put up with a lot from me, and I just like to thank them.
Nice.
What is Mark? You train with Mark, you said?
Yeah.
Is Mark a purple belt or Mark's a black belt?
No, Mark is now a black belt, but his son is the purple belt I train with, Sean Kern.
Got it. Okay, I was with Mark a little while ago in Michigan.
Okay.
I was in Michigan a year ago or so, and I
he's
met
come up
up
a few
with Mark.
times.
Mark's a firefighter, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Great. Well, great. Tell Mark I said hello. If you see
I
him.
definitely will.
And I look forward to connecting with you guys soon.
Well, Brian, thanks for letting us have a little conversation with you and giving us a glimpse into your life, man. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Take care, my friend.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
And to finish it off, let's speak with Jesse Bennett. Okay, I'm speaking with Jesse Bennett. So, Jesse, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've been listening for a while, so thank you for having me here to talk.
Yeah, my pleasure, and thanks for being a listener. So let's start, Jesse, by just letting us know where you're from, where you train, and how long you've been training.
Yes, I live in Overland Park, Kansas. It's a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri, so it's roughly 10, 20 miles from here. And I train at a CTC in Overland Park. It initially was a Taekwondo studio, but my teacher, owner, Dave Johnson, he started several years ago setting up jiu-jitsu there too, with the Gracie Academy. And him and another guy, Dave Smar, are a couple of our main instructors, and they basically, Dave Smar has been training for about 20 years in various variations of jiu-jitsu and grappling, and so he's like the teacher of most of our advanced training classes and master cycle. And for me, I'm a blue belt, but I've been training for about 8 or 9 years. I trained for 2 years when I lived in California, kind of a sport-centered school, so it was kind of a rude awakening, not having any experience. And then I came out here and trained for about 1.5 years at the same place here in Overland Park. And then I had a kid and another kid and got kind of lazy, didn't want to go anywhere after 6 o'clock at night.
Oh,
so
understand. Been there.
Yeah. Finally, after listening to podcasts and listening to your show and Joe Rogan and all these different shows, I was like, man, all these people are from all different ages. You know, I was at the time in my late 30s, now I'm 41, but a couple of years ago I was still in my late 30s, and I even then had that kind of silly mindset, well, it's too late, you know, there's no point. And after hearing so many different interviews and podcasts and whatnot, I was like, well, I have nothing to lose. The place is 5 miles away. I have no excuses. And I know it's a good way to exercise and work out and stay in shape, because I did do it for a couple of years, even though I had quit for a few years. So finally came back, and I ripped all my stripes off my initial white belt I had. And then after like a month, the teachers made me put them back on. I was more of not because I thought I was proving something. I just thought I had literally been gone like 3 years, so I thought I needed to kind of start from scratch. So everything was familiar, but definitely had to relearn and learn how to relax again and things like that.
Gotcha. Hey, Jesse, I got someone who wants to say hello and talk to you a little bit.
Oh, cool. All right.
Hey, Jesse, how are you? It's Tito and Gracie.
Whoa. Hey, how are you?
What's happening? That's so cool that you train with, Dave and Dave. The Daves. I always remember those two names. Great guys.
Yeah.
I was there a while ago. I went there a couple years ago. You weren't there then.
No, it was during my. Yeah. I think it was during my time on the couch. I know Tyson has done some of your law enforcement seminars.
Yes, also a great guy. So, Jesse, how, now that you're doing it and you started, even though you weren't sure if you can do it or not, now that you're doing jiu-jitsu, obviously I'm sure you're surprised that you're able to learn the way that you are, and, everybody, basically you were proven wrong, so it was a good surprise. But are there any other things that you have noticed that have surprised you when it comes to jiu-jitsu and how it's affected your life?
Yeah, well, I think being able to relax. Of course, the first year or more of open mat and things like that, you have to relax whether it's a 130-pound person smushing you, making you feel like they're bigger than you. I'm like 200 pounds, so whether it's somebody smaller than you smashing you or somebody bigger than you smashing you, you literally just have to learn how to relax regardless. So I'm not saying I'm perfect at keeping my cool, but it's helped me tremendously. And even in a time traveling kind of mindset where I think of situations earlier in life thinking, man, if I should have started this. I have a 4 and a 6-year-old who I want them to start training, even if it's a little bit at home and stuff. And I think just having some of that in your life, it's a big difference. I know once anyone who trains knows, anyone who's trained for a while knows that, when you can stay relaxed. In a weird way, it's not that I'm some kind of philosopher, but I really do care more about relaxing than trying to get the upper hand and choke the person or grab someone's arm. I literally am always thinking of, maybe sometimes to my detriment, because you get in some spots you can't recover from. But yes. I try to not panic, which is easy the first few months on when you're doing open mat and whatnot. But I would say the best thing is learning to keep my cool. The mental jiu-jitsu or mental judo, what maybe some people call it back in the day.
Yeah,
that's kind of helped me.
I think that like learning to keep your cool and learning to relax, you're making it seem like it's pretty easy, and that's good that it's easy for you, but most people have a hard time. Relaxing is like the biggest challenge of all. Is how do I relax? And everybody says relax, but it's not that easy. So I feel like, especially more recently, I've been saying a lot is it's almost like you don't really care about the end result of that role or that small battle, whether it be to control a position or escape a position. Imagine like if you went at every battle with like 70 or 80% worry. You obviously try and you give good technique and you give good effort, but you're not too worried about the result. And if you do that, a lot, it takes the burden. It's all right, because we're here to learn, and there's learning time.
Yes.
And there's performing time. There's time to perform, and maybe 1 day a week, 2 days a week, you say, you know what, I'm not going to let anybody pass my guard. You're in performance mode. And then there are days where you say, I'm going to allow people to pass my guard. I'm going to make them work a little bit, and I'm going to fight at 70, 80%. And a lot can be learned from those, those small battles. So I'm happy that you found the way to relax this early in the game.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And even what's cool with jiu-jitsu is you learn it at different levels. Like if there's somebody who's only been training a few months comes in, you think, or I should say you, meaning myself, you think like, man, I don't know if I've learned anything. And every now and then something will remind you, wow, I guess this is a lot easier after I've done this, even just the basics, you've done them. Because I went through the whole combative thing basically twice because I came back and kind of restarted from scratch after a little layoff there. And sometimes you don't realize that you know something, if that makes any sense.
Of course.
And until
you forget where you started.
Mm-hmm.
You forget how much you started with, right? You can't compare yourself to yourself before you started, and you'll never quit. But if you compare yourself to the other people that are in the room that have been training for as long as you have, or who knows how long, then it's a little bit easy to feel like you're not good enough. But always remembering where you came from is a very important thing to keep you on the mat. Makes you appreciate so much.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Sometimes when you have a new person, maybe they've only done grappling or open mat a few times, maybe they've got enough stripes and a little experience where they start doing coming to open mat on Saturday mornings or whatnot, or sometimes if it's a day class with Tyson or something, we'll do a little, like 2 or 3 rounds of 5-minute rounds, and you'll think, like, because there's different levels, even if somebody at the same belt, they might have wrestled for 10 years, or somebody else, it might be terrifying just to walk in the door the first time. Everyone has different backgrounds, and I've noticed sometimes when it's a brand new person, you could feel their heart beating, you could feel their hands shaking, and you're thinking in your head, and meaning myself, of course, that wow, like I'm like totally chill and unworried about anything. And you could just feel it. It's not always apparent, like it's not necessarily panic or anything, but just you could feel the tension, and it gives you that level of comfort, thinking, wow, I guess I used to do that too. I used to be shaking and trembling. And
yeah,
that's awesome.
Really cool.
Hey, Jesse, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. I wish we had longer. We're going to have to bring it to a close. Before we do you have anybody you want to do a quick shout out to?
Yeah, really just our guys here in Overland Park, Gracie Academy at Midwest Martial Arts, Dave Johnson and Dave Smarr, and Israel and Tyson. Those are all the guys that teach most of our classes. We had Evandro out here like a month or 2 ago. That was a lot of fun. So
nice.
Shout out to him too.
Absolutely.
Yes, Evandro went out there. He loved it, and all those guys too. I hope to see them soon. I like hanging out there because I get to come see Tamba also, right? Who's one of our very dedicated students. So hopefully I'll be out there one day hanging out with Tamba and you guys.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks for all the talking. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much.
No, you were fine. I appreciate you letting us.
It's all good.
Yeah, we enjoyed getting to know more about you. So thanks for sharing, and be well. Long, happy life, my friend.
You bet. Hopefully I'll see you in Torrance one day, both of you. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, and here's Hedron to share his thoughts and kind of recap the experience.
This was very fun. And I guess one of the most interesting things for me was how many lifelong martial artists, right? A few of them, maybe 3 or 4 of them, they had explained how they were lifelong martial artists, and they are just finishing with jiu-jitsu. And that's really great. I never thought about how, you do the martial arts when you're 14, 22, 30, all these different arts your whole life. Because if you're into the martial arts, you're into the martial arts. So it was great to hear a few of them, want to finish with jiu-jitsu, or they just happen to end up there. And it makes perfect sense, because if any martial art is going to allow you to, practice until you're 70, 80, 90 years old, it's the one that Andrew Gracie practiced. So I'm very happy to see that, and I'm sure my grandfather would be also. So it was a very fun time, and hopefully we'll do this again and speak to, 10 more people, 8 more people from outside the country one day. Let's leave the country, Marty. Let's go international.
That sounds great, man. Yeah. Well, this was a blast for me. I really am glad we did it. I think people really were surprised and delighted and enjoyed the experience, and it was insightful for me as well. Always good to, connect with other people and see what their journey's been like. So I'm glad we did this for sure. We'll definitely do it again.
Last thing is that, there's too much good happening from jiu-jitsu off the mat, right? I love those little examples, even the ones like, how I tackle problems. I'm a little more peaceful, right? And how they are with their children. So it's really cool. I'm all about the lifestyle. So Thank you to all those that shared how jiu-jitsu is helping them in their everyday life.
Right.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, sir. Take care, brother.
Okay, bro.
Bye.
Peace.
Okay, hope you guys enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed doing it. I also want to say thank you for everyone out there who listens to the show and supports the show. I really appreciate it. Next up is the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. Okay, time now for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. So I heard a story a long time ago about a baby elephant. And the owner of this elephant tied the elephant to a pole using a rope to keep it safe so it wouldn't wander off and get hurt. And the baby elephant pulled and pulled, tugged and tugged on the rope, tried to free itself from the post. So it pulled the rope, and try as it might, it could not get free. And it tried for some time, pulling and tugging, and finally realized that it couldn't break free. Now, fast forward many years in the future, and the elephant's all grown up. It's a big, huge, massive animal, and with great strength, and it could easily break the rope in half now. But it doesn't. It doesn't try. And that's because it believes it can't. Way back when the elephant was small and tried to break free, it couldn't, and that caused a limiting belief. Now the elephant has the ability, but it doesn't try. It has a self-imposed belief that it can't do it, a self-imposed restriction or limitation. So the question is now, what self-imposed limitations have you put on yourself? Is there something you wanted to do, to accomplish, that you've told yourself or led yourself to believe that you can't do it? Maybe you tried a long time ago, or maybe you just never had the belief that you could do it, and you've let fear hold you back. Now, I'm not suggesting you go do something you're not interested in doing, but if there is something that you are interested in doing, and you've been held back by yourself, by your own limiting beliefs, it's time to change that. It's time to think of the elephant, and you're a whole new person now. You have strengths and skills and abilities that maybe you didn't in the past. It's time to reevaluate who you are and where you are and what you want to accomplish. It's time to tap into that belief and that faith that you can do it. So going through your day-to-day, as well as your week, your month, I invite you just to kind of be aware and think of something specifically that you'd like to do, that you've wanted to do for some time and you've held yourself back. Make a decision today that this is a new start, a new era for you, and it's time to do it. Now, go get it done. And that's going to do it for this edition of the show. As always, I thank you for listening. I appreciate all feedback, so if you have feedback, please don't hesitate to give it. If you have ideas for the show or for guests, please let me know about those. You can leave feedback on the website at www.graciejujitsurocks.com. You can also leave feedback on iTunes, and while you're there, make sure to rate the show. It helps us with our standing in iTunes. If you haven't liked us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, please go ahead and do that. And don't forget to share the episodes on your Facebook and social media. Again, thanks again for listening, and until next time, this is Marty Josie, and I'll see you on the mat.